Hey girl, hey, and welcome to my channel, Redefining a Woman's Worth, where we are living life on purpose, for a purpose, and in purpose. I am your girl, Janae Renee, and I am here again today on this Monday, and I just felt like I wanted to pop on it, and I just wanted to be very honest about where I am in my journey, in my faith journey, because this channel is all about faith. It's all about purpose. It's about discovering your true identity and overcoming the burden of past trauma, right? Because a lot of times it is the things that we have never processed, that we have never healed from, that we have never truly addressed or even acknowledged, that sometimes begin to be those like mountains. The Bible talks about speaking to the mountain until it be ye cast into the sea. And sometimes it's hard and you can't speak to the mountain because it seems so big. It seems so insurmountable. So this channel is all about that. But the truth is that sometimes in this journey of life, and in particularly this faith journey, it can just get really difficult. If I'm honest, it can be like challenging, like crippling, if I'm honest. When you just experience just, extreme challenges, or, it seemed like, challenge after challenge, when you are in a season of extended, like, hopelessness, extended feeling forsaken, extended, crises, difficulty, hardship. In my experience, I'm sorry, y'all, the camera's moving a little bit. In my experience, it really begins to weigh on your faith. And I know that as a person, like, there are just so many things we're never going to understand about why God allows certain things. Why didn't he come through when we prayed? Why didn't he, rescue us out of this circumstance? All of these things, right? And so it could be very difficult trying to reconcile, even though we know that tribulation and trials are going to come. Jesus basically promises, like, this in this life we will experience that, but somewhere along the way you just believe and you hope that you will see that joy that comes in the morning, and it won't just be for a moment, but it will be like for an extended time period, okay? But when the opposite happens, and instead of the joy, it end up being like the valley, the fire, right? It end up being, the crushing. It just can begin to cause you to question everything, right? And that's where I've been, and even though I am truly living in a answered prayer, for those of you that may not know, my family and I lost housing 2023 in May, and we were without our own home and living, from hotels to different family members to finally landing at my mother's house, where we were for over 2 years. And it was difficult, very, very difficult to be in that place for especially that long, because going into it, while it was very difficult and like very like frustrating, to especially how it happened, right? Because the circumstances around what really led to us losing housing just was very like weird, like the person, my landlord at the time, she was just not a good person. And so it was just a lot going on with that, and it was like really abrupt, when we actually just had to kind of leave in haste, and we couldn't really, find people to help us. And it was myself and my two sons moving a 4-bedroom house on our own. And that particular day, it was freezing, it was like hailing, it was crazy. But it just was really chaotic. And I still had a level of faith, right? Because I just assumed, like, okay, yes, this is not what I anticipated. I didn't really see this, turning out like this. However, like, I know that the Lord is going to work things out. Me and my boys will be fine. We'll get a place to stay. Actually, I'm gonna rewind. We had another place to stay. Um, we were in the process of building a house from the ground up. We have started it in January of 2023. And that's what really led to some of us having to really, really leave the house we were at, because my landlord, she wanted to sell. She fell on hard times financially, and she kept trying to like get me to purchase a home, and I did not want to, because I knew it wasn't a home that I really wanted to live in long term. Plus, like I said, I was in the middle of, building my dream home, building a house from the ground up. So I wasn't interested in, because I did not want to purchase her home. She began to get very, very mean and be mean and basically give me and my children an ultimatum and tell us that if we did not get a pre-approval, we would have to be out. And so I really wasn't moved in the beginning, because I just was like, well, Lord, I know this is not the way that I saw it happening, but since we're already really preparing to have our own place, we're building a home, like we just can thug it out, right? So when we moved out, we went to live with a family member, and I just figured we would be there maybe a month or so, because my home was due to be finished the end of July, and it was May. So I was like, surely we could thug it out. We could figure it out. We'd be cool. So I was still full of faith. I still was okay. And in May, it really became apparent that it was either that it wasn't going to work out, or my faith just wasn't as big as I thought it was, okay? Because if you know anything about buying a home or building a home, having new construction, there's earnest money due, and then there's closing costs due. It takes a lot of money to do that. And while I got my pre-approval and everything with no money, I bought the house and the land initially with $250. Long story. I think I've talked about this on my channel, maybe some previous older videos, but yes, $250 is, I signed a contract after paying $250. And it was supernatural. It was all God. And even having a pre-approval, because I was still a stay-at-home mom. I was still a homeschool mother. I wasn't working. I didn't have any money. In some supernatural way, the Lord made a way for me to have a pre-approval for a home that cost almost $500,000. No exaggeration. It was about $455,000 and some change. It was a beautiful home. It was in a new community. I designed it, every little detail from everything, because that's what happens when you build new construction, right? When you break ground. And so, I was like, okay, Lord, we get to live in our dream. But come May, when the salesperson was constantly being like, hey, we need some more money. We need some of this earnest money. We need you to put down some of this money. It was like, I don't have it. And so I just, instead of, I guess, really me exercising more faith and really looking at the fact that the Lord brought us all that way, he allowed me to purchase this house and land for $250. He allowed me to get a pre-approval, and only God knows how that happened. Like, I had good credit, but that was it. I had no money. I had no income, no job, like no source. Like, if you know anything about a mortgage, like mortgage companies don't give you a pre-approval if you don't have income. Like, how they gonna get their money back? So maybe my faith wasn't as big as I thought, and I ended up just canceling the contract and walking away from it. And so now we really was in a pickle. And that's where I believe things really started to shake and rattle my faith in a way that I never really expected. And I just still assumed in some kind of way that the Lord was going to come through. Like, he was going to provide us in a place, even if, okay, it's not going to be our dream home. It's not going to be this new construction home, but it will be somewhere there. Like, it never crossed my mind that we was going to be in a place where we just were, displaced and unhoused. And we was going to be going from like staying in hotels, and basically I'm staying in the park all day in the car because we had nowhere to go. Like, I never imagined that. And then going from this family member's house, being told to, leave after some time, going to another family member's house, being told you had to leave, then ultimately ending up at my mom's house. Like, I had not had to live with anybody since I left my mom's house when I was probably maybe like 20 years old. when I moved out. And so it was just so far-fetched in my mind. Like, I'm surely God's gonna come through, right? Surely. And he didn't come through in the way that I desired and the way I expected. And so we ended up, like I said, being at my mom's and being there just for a longer period of time than I ever imagined. A lot of things took place. It was very difficult. It was hard. Me and my mom's relationship at the time was very estranged. There was just a lot of disconnect and distance and, hurt and pain and anger in between us. So it was not like I was welcome with open arms. So it was like as if things couldn't get any worse. I'm already at the bottom of the bottom. I'm already at my lowest, and then here I have to go to the person who I just would not have wanted to go, and then feel like I'm being kicked while I'm down, right? And it was like I had no understanding. Like, Lord, why would you do this to me? Like, Lord, what have I done so awful, so wrong that you would humiliate and embarrass and allow me to suffer and be hurt and be mistreated? Like, why would you do that to me? Like, as much as I'm not perfect, I try to be a good person, to do what's right. I'm kind, I'm loving, I'm gracious, I love to help people. So I just couldn't understand, like, Lord, like, why would you allow this? And then it was like on top of that, it was just like constantly having warfare and being attacked at night and having things come and, violate me, attack me, sometimes like literally just attack me violently, like in the night hours. So it's like my sleep was disrupted. Then I started really, because I was just so broken hearted, like at the fact that how we was living, because now me and my sons are living in a room. Like, we're just like living in a room, like we're sleeping on the floor because it's like one bed, so we're trying to rotate the bed. And it was just very, very, very uncomfortable. And then in the midst of that, I had my dream truck at the time, and I ended up having to sell my truck back because I couldn't afford to keep it. So I had to sell my truck back to the dealership. So then it was like, now we don't have a car. So that was like the one piece of solitude that I had going into this, is my car. Because oftentimes I would go in my car, I would just cry my eyes out for hours. I would cry out to God, I would pray, I would read my word, I would get in my car and go to the park and just spend hours upon hours crying and praying and talking to the Lord. So it was like that was the one piece of, escape way that I had. And I had to give that up too. So we had to sell the car back. Now we had no car. And oh man, it was like, what bowels of hell opened up and unleashed some kind of attack on me, because it was just crazy and unbearable. It was so many things happened during this time, and it was becoming a very dark place. Like, I found myself just really being in a dark place, having some dark thoughts, struggling with, wanting to continue to move on, to live, struggling with having any form of hope. Like, I remember I cried probably daily, almost daily, for months straight. I mean, it was awful. And and through all of this, I was still trying to get a job. I was like filling out applications, I was submitting resumes, I was filling out applications for homes, going to look at homes. Like, I was trying my best to get out of the situation and fix our situation. And it was like, no matter how hard I tried, nothing changed. And we lived like that for, like I said, over 2 years. And like, yes, like after probably like going about, I guess, a little over a year, I really realized that the Lord was calling me to go back to my vocation that I had retired from. I had retired for like 5 years, and I really wasn't trying to go back, because I thought that when he told me to retire and give it up, I thought it was like long term, like I wasn't never going to go back. So every time opportunities had presented themselves, and I had many opportunities to go back into it. I had people willing to help me, people willing to give me a space, people willing to let me share their suite, people willing to, let me work for free for a month to build up my clientele, people like, all kind of opportunities that I turned down because I just didn't think that that's what I was supposed to do. And so, and at the time when I was in this situation though, particularly, living at my mom's, I didn't want a job that like was commission based. I wanted a W-2 job. I wanted to be an employee, so I got to pay to get a paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever. Like I wanted consistent income because I knew that's what I needed to really get out the situation. So I really wasn't interested. But it came to a point where I just really knew like the Lord was saying I needed to go back to doing hair. And to be honest, I wasn't really thrilled about it because you got to imagine I had been out the business for 5 years. It changed. The beauty industry changed tremendously in that 5 years. I had no clients because I was not doing hair at all. And so I was going to have to literally start over from the bottom. That made me depressed. Okay. Because I'm like, I need money and I need it right now. As well as if you are an entrepreneur or business owner, you know, it takes money to make money. And so I'm like, Lord, I don't have no really money to invest to get the things that I really need to be able to start working in this business again. But I was really at a crossroads and my back was against the wall and I really ain't have no choice. So I just did it. With whatever I had, I did it. I started and it's good. But to be honest though, I was in a place of struggle, and even the first year of doing hair, y'all, I barely made any money. It was weeks upon weeks I made nothing. Okay? I mean, it was crazy. I was like, Lord, I'm only doing this because I believe you told me to do it. Like, I'm trying to obey what you saying. And I get into this thing, and this thing ain't working the way I thought it was going to work. Like, I started at one salon when I first got back into it. Had to leave because I couldn't afford the booth rent. Went to another salon that a couple people I knew referred me to. Go there, you know, the booth rent was pennies. It was very low, and I still could not afford to pay it every week. And oftentimes I was having to ask her if I could double up for the next week because I didn't make no money that for 1 week. Like I had to do that all the time. And it was just times I had just made nothing. And it was just to the point where I was like, okay, I'm not at the right place. Like something was off. I knew something was off, and I began to feel like maybe I made the wrong choice of going to the wrong salon. Not to say something was really wrong with the woman, but sometimes you got to know that environment matters, right? And obedience matters. So when you're in the will of God and you're where God called you to be and has instructed and directed you to go, there will be a grace. It's not to say that everything will be so perfect, but you'll see fruit, consistent fruit, right? There will be a grace. And so I just didn't ever feel like there was any consistent fruit nor a grace. So I ended up going to the salon that I think I was supposed to go at all from the very beginning. And because I had the opportunity when I first got back into business in January of 2024, I had the opportunity to go to this particular place. And I believe the Lord told me to go there, and I chose not to do it. And I didn't do it because when I went and looked at the salon, I didn't like the aesthetic. I didn't like, the condition of some parts of the salon. It just wasn't modern. It wasn't updated. It was still kind of like dated. And I really had this vision for a luxury brand, right? And provide luxury services. So I passed it up and I went to that other salon. And like I said, that didn't work out. Then I went to another salon and that didn't work out. And lo and behold, I did almost toward the last quarter of 2024, I ended up at the salon where I was supposed to go in the beginning. And there was definitely fruit, right? My business started increasing. It started growing. I started gaining more clientele. I was perfecting my craft. Things were good. And I was not having any problems. Things were fine. I was quite comfortable. And yeah. And then next thing you know, May of 2025, all of a sudden, I'm getting hit with this, of my brother like, hey, you need to come work at the salon where I'm at. And I'm like, huh? No. Like, because I wasn't looking to leave where I was. I finally had felt like I was in a good place. I was making money. I was able to pay my booth rent, no problem. I had my own little like suite. And so it was just like really good. I really was really, really comfortable. So was not looking to leave at all. There was a little incident that happened that did make me feel like, I gotta be more careful. But it wasn't nothing that really made me feel like, oh, I'm gonna have to leave this place. Because like I said, things were really good. Like I liked people I worked with. Um, it was nothing that made me feel like it was time to leave, but it was the Lord saying it was time. And it took me a couple weeks to really confirm that for myself, and praying and seeking the Lord. And indeed, it was him let me know that my season was up. Like I had been there for like 10 months, and I guess that was long enough, and the Lord was ready to transition me to the new place. And I really wasn't feeling it, to be honest, because it was going to take another level of faith, because my booth rent jumped up a huge amount from what I was paying. And I was scared. I was very, very, very scared, because I didn't think I could do it. I didn't think I was ready. I didn't think I had the clientele. I didn't think I could do it consistently. I didn't think, my business, really was on that level yet. And it was a luxury salon, so it's not that the booth rent is definitely worth where I work. You know what I mean? Where the space. But I was just scared, because I had got so comfortable being where I was, and I was easily able to make my booth rent over and over again, and I didn't really worry about that, and things were so comfortable that now I'm in this place of uncomfortability, and I'm like, Lord, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to the uncomfortable place, right? Even though, excuse me, the salon itself was exactly what I envisioned, right? When the Lord gave me the vision to get back in the business, it was the exact vision, right? It was a luxury salon. It was beautiful. It was in a good location. It was just like, it was top of the line, just beautiful. But I was so scared. But long story short, I did it, and I did it scared. And I eventually got another car, and things kind of start, getting better, but I was still living at my mama's house. And it was just hard, y'all, because I was sleeping on a little love seat. Like I had no place to sleep. And because by this time my other son had came back, and he had to leave where he was living, and so maybe like a little over about a year into us living at my mom's, my older son come. So I ended up giving up the bedroom and just let my son have it, my two sons, and then my other son sleeping in the basement, and I was sleeping in the living room on a love seat. And my mom had birds. She had parakeets. They was always chirping. They was loud. People coming in the front door. There was no privacy. I couldn't really get no sleep, because people when they making noise. They walking through the living room. They going into the kitchen. It was just very, very, very uncomfortable. And I lived like that for over a year. I slept in that living room. I had no peace of mind, no space to myself. Like it was very, very, very difficult. I wasn't sleeping well at all. I couldn't get any comfortable sleep. So my sleep was always disrupted. So I always was feeling tired. I was gaining weight, because my body was just kind of always at a high stress level. So my cortisol was super high, and I was gaining weight, and like my body, I was just like dealing with different challenges because I wasn't getting a proper amount of rest. And it was just like, Lord, why? Like why are we like living like this? And so even though God was moving in certain areas, the areas that I really wanted him to move in, he didn't for a long time. And being in that place of feeling like you're constantly praying, like in this over 2 years that I was, living at my mom's, I went through deliverance. I went through more deliverance. I was praying. I had fasted. I was declaring. I was still going to church. I was still serving. I was still trying to stay faithful, right? And because I was like, Lord, surely you're going to come through soon. And soon turned into over 2 years. And it has just weighed on my faith to the point that now I'm struggling, y'all. I'm struggling, like faith-wise. Like my faith has taken a hit, and I don't know how to recover. Like, and even though we are in our own space, and it's beautiful, and it is what I needed and what I wanted, and God really and truly answered our prayer, and he's faithful, and I am so happy. There's still a part of me though that knows like my faith is not as active. You know what I mean? Like my belief is not as strong as it once was. It's like time and circumstances and challenges has somehow begin to eat away at my faith, y'all. And I'm having a hard time praying. I'm having a hard time reading the Bible. I'm having a hard time spending time with the Lord. I'm having a hard time even having expectation or hope for anything else, because I just feel like I don't know if it's safe to believe again. I don't know how to muster up the faith to believe again. And I'm just like, I'm having a hard time. And I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and it was the first time that I really talked to her about some of this very thing that I'm talking about in this video, just like the struggle of my faith and my belief right now, my whole belief system, and how I'm just really having a hard time. And interestingly enough, she's telling me she's in the same place, and she confided into me some things that she had never told me. And we talk we talk all the time. We're very close. She lives in another state from me, but I was just with her last month. Like, we on the phone a lot. Like, we do life together. We've been friends almost 20 years, but she spoke to me. She mentioned to me some things that I never heard her say before. And then I also began to let her know some of the things that I was dealing with, and we're dealing with some of the similar things, like just the challenge of how do you recover after feeling forsaken for a long period of time, or not seeing the thing that you've been praying and believing for, or not being out of a very hard place for a long time. Like, even after you get out that place, like, how do you recover? How do you go back to having that, that great faith? How do you go back to having that great belief? And it's almost like falling off a bike. Like, you learn how to ride a bike, and then you think you got it, and you ride, and the next thing you hit something, or you fall off and you hurt yourself. And then it's like you're expected to get back up and get on the bike, but now you're afraid. It's like you're traumatized, because you like, last time I got on there, I got hurt. And that's what it feels like. It's like, there's still a lot of things that I have been believing for since before we entered into that season of being at my mom's, and even during. Like, yeah, the Lord has now answered this particular part of it, but there's still some parts of it that feel like, Lord, have you heard me? Do my prayers matter? Are you listening? Like, is it something you're willing, or like, are you gonna do it for me? Like, do you see, like, the things that we need? Do you see the areas, where it's still like, things are still happening, or we still need some relief and some help, and all these things? And it's just hard. It's just hard. And I just don't know what to do, to the point that I know some you guys probably you see that. And I slipped and fell the day after Thanksgiving going into work, and because we have a very slippery part of the concrete, we have like some stamped concrete, and it's very slippery even if it just rains. Like, we've had clients fall, we have clients have had clients slip, and it's just really very unsafe, to honestly. But that particular day, you couldn't even see the concrete at all, because it had snowed that night before, and it was just completely covered in snow. So it didn't even like register in my mind, like, about the concrete, like the stamped concrete versus the regular concrete, or any of it, right? I just was trying to get into work. My client was coming. She was like walking behind me a few feet, and so I'm just trying to get in and start my day. But unfortunately, I slipped and fell, and I fell pretty hard, and I hurt my wrist and my knee. And my knee has gotten relatively better. And I didn't initially go to the doctor or anything like that, because I just assumed it would just get better. I knew it like wasn't broken or whatever, but obviously it was hurting. But you hit concrete, of course it's gonna hurt, And so I just assumed it would get better with time, and it didn't. And I kept putting it off. Like, people kept telling me, Janelle, because my wrist was hurting a lot. And people will be like, Janelle, go to the doctor. You need to see, make sure ain't nothing wrong. You know, you need to go to the doctor. You need to see about yourself. You need to da-da-da. And I just would be like, I'm going to go. But I just really kept putting it off because I just didn't want to make the time, because I was still had clients. I was working. I'm like, I need to make my money. I don't really got time for these people to tell me I need to take time off work, because obviously you do hair, you use your wrist. Like, it's just, you can't do it without it. So I just put it off as long as I could. And really, I put it off because my faith is so shaken that I don't trust that God will provide. So the reality is, I have made myself an idol, and I have made Mammon an idol, that I feel like I need to put my needs and what I believe I need and money that I need to make to pay my bills and meet my needs above my own health and above my belief and my faith and trust that God will provide for me. So I went to the hospital over the weekend, and of course I need to take time off. I need to rest it. It needs to start the healing process, because obviously I've been working for like 2 weeks on this wrist, and I have been working through pain. Because what happens is, when you're used to pain, you can normalize that. Like, you can work in pain because you're so used to being in pain. So I'm so used to being in pain that it even though it bothered me, it didn't bother me to the point that I was like, I need to take time to take care of myself. It was like, oh, I'll keep working through the pain. And so that let me know there's something deeper going on, because why would I want to torture myself and think that I got to work in some pain, y'all? And to be honest, even though the doctor was like, you need to really you need to immobilize your wrist as much as possible, meaning like, don't move it, don't use it, rest it. And I'm like, okay, I rested today. But the truth is, I was going to still work. I was going to still work this week, because I'm like, y'all, it's a holiday. We're 10 days away from Christmas. Even though Christmas is not something that's super big in my family right now. My sons are older. They don't really care. We don't have a tree. We don't have decorations or anything. But I still want to make sure I can do something for them so they can wake up and feel special. And so, and then, come on. We got bills. Bills don't care that you're not feeling good or that you're in pain and you had an accident and an injury. They don't care. So I was going to risk it, and I was still going to work, and I didn't take the time off, and I had scheduled a client, and I had a client today, and I had clients the rest of the week. And, I even talked to the owner of the salon and let her know on Saturday that, what was the outcome of me going to the hospital. And she was like, okay, well, something about me taking some time off. And I was like, oh, no, I'm not taking no time off because I need my income. And when I said it to her, it did not bother me one bit. It didn't. It did not bother me. Because she just like, I get that. That was her response. And that was that. But then today, as I really sitting here thinking about things, my wrist really is hurting, y'all. It has been for quite some time. It really needs rest. I mean, if I'm honest, I'll be lying to myself to say that I was really up to work and I was just going to push past pain, push through, and I was just going to torture myself for a few dollars, to be completely honest. But the reality is, it boils down to the fact that I don't trust and believe that God is going to come through for us. And I have a track record with God. Like, God has come through for us. I've seen God do things. I've seen the supernatural. I've seen miracles. I've seen God's faithfulness. But it's something about having been in that season of really about 3 years or more, if I'm real honest. I would say probably about 5 years, because really things have been really tough since maybe like about 2020. Even before that, to be honest, when I was in my last relationship and things just got really bad and things started going downhill. But then there was like a moment in 2021 when restoration happened and God, came through and he restored us and he blessed us and things got good. And then by 2023, things were going back downhill. So really, it's been longer than 2 years. It's been really about 5 years or so. But just being in that place so long has really caused me to lose heart, right? To lose faith, to become weary. I know the Bible says, "Be not weary in well doing," but if I'm honest, in my humanness, I feel weary. I feel tired. I'm like spiritually, mentally, and emotionally exhausted, and I don't have the faith to believe like God is gonna come through for me. So I was gonna still work, despite what the doctor said, despite having a doctor's appointment to go see a doctor about my wrist on Thursday, despite the fact that I know I have a high tolerance of pain, but my wrist really be hurting. It hurt right now. But because of the fear of God not gonna come through, I gotta do it for myself. I gotta look out for me. I look out for my family because I can't trust God. Because I can't depend on Him because my faith has been shaken to its core. Like I'm not even about to go get emotional on this video. But I just wanted to get on here and be just very honest because I can't imagine that it's just me. And I know a lot of times we see people and they are on social media and they're talking about, even if they go through a challenge or a storm, but how they remained in faith and their faith remained strong and, they continue to trust God and believe, all these things. But that's not the case for everybody. Some of us go through some things that be so detrimental that and so difficult and challenging that it literally knocks the wind out of you and you are stuck because you're trying to figure out, how do I recover from this? Yes, I am in a blessing. Yes, I've seen the heaven hand of God move. Yes, there's some prayers I prayed and God answered them quickly, but then there are some prayers I've been praying for years that I still have not seen. But how do I recover from this? How do I get to a place of great faith again? How do I get to that place of great belief and hope, dependence on God, just trusting and knowing that He is faithful, that He's not going to leave nor forsake us, that He's not going to, allow us to just fail, that He's going to come through, even if it's at the 11th hour, that I can trust Him. Because that's my struggle right now, and I'm doing the best that I can to navigate it. But I just wanted to get on here and to be honest, because I'm like, maybe someone else is going through this too, and you'll come across this video and maybe you need to hear that you're not alone, that you're not the only one, and heck, you're not crazy. You're still saved, you're still a believer. But you're navigating a reality. It may not be everybody's reality, but it's your reality. It's my reality. Like, it's just hard, and it's not easy for everyone to just bounce back when they experience just a lot of traumatic things back to back to back. It's just not. And it doesn't mean that you don't love God, and it doesn't mean that you are in some way, not a Christian. It just means that you're human and you're fallible and you're finite and you are in a place of being vulnerable, because at the very least, I do talk to God about it. When I do talk to God, I am honest with Him, and I tell Him how I feel, and I tell Him what I'm going through, and I tell Him where my mind is at and where my heart is at, and I'm completely honest with how I feel about Him and how I feel about things and how it has affected me. Like, I'm just completely honest, and I can't say that in the moment or even as of yet, I've heard much of anything or things have changed or shifted, or, you know, my faith is really increasing. I mean, but what I can say is I got on here and did this video. And it took some faith to do that, okay? Because I don't like y'all being in my business. I like to keep my business to myself. But I just hope that if there's a young woman out here and you feel like I feel, be encouraged. Be encouraged. Be encouraged. Like, God is not afraid of our feelings. He's not afraid of our questions. He's not afraid of our anger, our fears. It's like, you know, the best thing to do is to continue to cast your cares on him because he cares for you. And trust that in due season you'll reap. He'll, you know, if you continue to seek, you'll find. If you knock, the door will be open unto you. If you ask, you shall receive. So continue to ask him to, how do you get out of this? Ask him, you know, what's the root? Like, what really is this? Maybe it's something deeper, and, you know, maybe the fruit of it is the faith is lacking, right? Maybe it's something else. You know, ask him how do you, you know, change your perspective? How do you begin to reignite that fire, that flame, that zeal, that passion, right? You know, these are things that we have to take to the Lord, and maybe he'll send a person who can speak to it. Maybe he'll speak to us in a still small voice. We just have to be open. We just have to be open. I don't really have the answers because I'm trying to navigate it real time myself. But I just do want to offer some encouragement and some support to say, sis, you're not alone. It's not just you. And of course, if you need prayer, feel free to hit me up. I will put my email in the description box. But, you know, just don't give up. I know it's hard. I know you feel like giving up sounds like the only answer. I know you're like, you can't take another thing. You can't go another step. You can't, you know, you're just tired. You're exhausted. You're just ready to throw in the towel. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get you got a laundry list of reasons why you should give up. Just don't allow your emotions and the enemy to play on your emotions to cause you to do something that, even though it might be illogical, it's still beneficial. And that is to continue to trust that God will come through. If we believe the Bible is true, if you know the heart of God, the character of God, I don't know when, you know, I don't know why, you know, he allows certain things and the length of time, and I don't. But what I can say is God is good. And maybe the way we interpret good is different than his interpretation. But it doesn't change the fact that God is good and that he cares for us. And if he didn't, we would not even be on this earth anymore with breath in our body. And I know sometimes you think maybe you don't want to be. And I just really pray that the Lord will lift that spirit of death and suicide and depression and darkness off of you, and to allow you to have room and space to breathe, and to be refreshed, because I know how hard it can be. So I hope this video really gets in front of the person that needs to hear it. I hope it bless you, and I would like you to know that your past does not define you. It develops you, and you are worthy.